Hello and welcome back to the MMA Bar. Today we're going to discuss the complete timeline of the Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor Mcgregor feud that led to the biggest fight in mixed martial arts history. The dust still hasn't quite settled after the mega fight between Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC 229, and it remains clear that both fighters continue to loathe one another. Usually, any pre-fight ill will or hurt feelings subside once the fight is over. However, this isn't the case between these two rivals. Khabib destroyed Conor McGregor in a historical fight that led to a violent brawl between the two boxers and their entourages. The Russian dominated the battle against the Irish martial artist from the get-go, unleashing madness at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Nurmagomedov threw himself over the cage in search of Dylan Dennis, and several members of the Russian fighter climbed into the octagon to beat up the Irishman who was still recovering from his heavy defeat. But what exactly fanned the flames of hatred between these two fighters, and what were Khabib's reasons for losing his temper? To understand that, here's our brief history of the McGregor vs Nurmagomedov beef. There was a time when McGregor and Nurmagomedov were not only cordial, but friends. Not so long ago, when McGregor began his rise in the sport, Khabib revealed his admiration for the Irish fighter. Although they held mutual respect, things have changed drastically since then. Ahead of McGregor's clash with Dustin Poirier at UFC 178, shared an exchange on Twitter after Nurmagomedov said he wanted to get his hands on a t-shirt depicting the Irish fighter in the style of a playing card. Whilst the Irishman was a featherweight, Khabib had a healthy respect for him, and the pair exchanged admiration over Twitter before meeting up and finally having a picture together. That was back in September 2014. McGregor later used this mutual admiration as ammo against Nurmagomedov in the press conference ahead of their fight, calling him a fanboy bitch. Although it's unclear whether the two did train together, the pair looked like buddies in a photograph taken shortly after McGregor beat Poirier to go 4-0 in the UFC. Conor McGregor's powers of prediction played a large role in his meteoric rise to the pinnacle of mixed martial arts. It was during his promotional world tour with Jose Aldo that McGregor's personality shone through for the first time, as he made the step up from promising European talent to bona fide superstar. The Notorious was in the process of getting inside Aldo's head in the hope of taking the 145-pound title away from the greatest featherweight of all time, but McGregor knew that his future lay at lightweight. McGregor was a monster at featherweight and put himself through some gruesome cuts to make the limit, so he always had eyes on moving up, and when asked who he expected to hold the 155-pound belt in the future, McGregor was in little doubt. McGregor prophesied in response to a fan at the press conference. He said, "I think Khabib will get the lightweight belt." Nurmagomedov needed just a week to respond to McGregor's prediction and expression of a desire to move up in weight. After giving his pick for the McGregor vs Aldo matchup, the Eagle warned McGregor to stay away from lightweight for his safety. "I like Conor McGregor, but if he comes to 155, then in 4 minutes I will smash him," Nurmagomedov said. He continued, "It would be no problem. He's an exciting guy and I like him. I think he can beat Jose Aldo, maybe finish him. A lot of people think Jose Aldo will beat him out, but in my opinion, I think he kills him. But if he comes to 155 pounds, welcome." McGregor required just 13 seconds to knock Aldo out in the main event of UFC 194, and that was the last time we've seen him make the drastic cut to 145 pounds. Immediately after becoming the UFC featherweight champion, McGregor set his sights on dominating the lightweight division. With Nurmagomedov sidelined with an injury, he had some advice for the Irishman when he spoke to Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour in the wake of UFC 194. He said, "Right now, it's a very interesting situation in the lightweight division because Conor says he wants to come to the lightweight division. I think Conor has to stay in the featherweight division because if he moves to lightweight, then people are going to say that he didn't do everything in the featherweight division because he hasn't fought Frankie Edgar." Once McGregor had dispatched Aldo in 2016, he fought twice at welterweight against Nate Diaz, winning the rematch after a submission loss in the first bout. Notorious then made good on his desire to compete at lightweight, beating champion Eddie Alvarez to become the first UFC fighter to hold titles in 2 divisions. Prior to McGregor vs Alvarez, Nurmagomedov staked his claim with a victory against Daryl Horcher in April 2016 after a 2-year injury layoff, and started to goad McGregor on Twitter. He said, "Mountain Eagle gonna change the game soon, and you'll have to play real real games. When McGregor beat Alvarez in November 2016 at UFC 205, it was the first time he and Nurmagomedov had fought on the same card, with the Russian beating Michael Johnson. Prior to the weigh-in, Nurmagomedov and McGregor had to be kept apart backstage, with the Russian saying, "I will smash your face, you will see." After an extended leave from the UFC in which he dabbled in boxing, losing to Floyd Mayweather, McGregor used the dawn of 2018 to comment on MMA affairs, specifically Nurmagomedov's defeat of Brazilian Edson Barboza. It was more big talk, only this time with bad photoshops of Nurmagomedov riding a bear as a terrified McGregor scampers away. UFC 223 was supposed to host a long-awaited showdown between Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. However, Ferguson was injured and replacement Max Holloway was declared medically unfit. Perhaps the frustration got the best of the Russian in the days leading up to his fight against last-minute replacement Al Yaquinta. Artem Lobov, one of Conor's best friends, traveled to Russia with Conor's team and met up with UFC fighters Ali Bagotinov and Rasul Mirzaev for a night out. The same night, several friends of Khabib, aware of the friendship with the Irishman, came looking to cause some problems and suggested McGregor was avoiding the fight with the Russian. During the incident, Lobov was slapped, and 15 days later, Mirzaev was shot and almost beaten to death. The relationship between the two teams broke on that day. At this point, McGregor is believed to have got on a plane from Dublin to New York. On April 5th, in a scene out of a WWE script, McGregor ambushed a bus full of fighters, including Nurmagomedov, in the loading dock of Brooklyn's Barclays Center, launching a dolly through a window. Michael Chiesa and Ray Borg suffered injuries to the head, face, and eye, missing their fights as a consequence. Nurmagomedov was unscathed. In the aftermath, UFC President Dana White called it the most disgusting thing that has ever happened in the history of the company. Since his fight against McGregor, Nurmagomedov has alleged the UFC was complicit in the attack. Khabib won the lightweight title that weekend over Al Yaquinta, and a few months later, the date with McGregor was set. At the pre-fight press conference, McGregor got personal with Khabib's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, bringing his son Noah into it. The level of research McGregor had done was frankly scary. He even lambasted Khabib for the friendship and respect they once had. "I'm going to put a beating on him and his glass jaw. He bought t-shirts to support my cause, a fanboy." Well, that didn't happen. Khabib forced McGregor to tap out in the 4th round and pretty much dominated the fight on the ground and in the stand-up, although McGregor did take a round from Khabib according to a couple of judges. The ugly events that followed are what defined the fight. Khabib vaulted the cage and attempted to assault Dylan Dennis, a McGregor teammate who had been verbally attacking Khabib all night. McGregor was also attacked by several of Khabib's teammates inside the octagon. Luckily, on both accounts, no one was hurt. Nurmagomedov went on to cement his legacy with dominating wins over interim champions Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje before hanging up the gloves in 2020. He was almost immediately inducted into the Hall of Fame by the promotion and is revered as one of the sport's greats. Meanwhile, McGregor still competes, although he is currently out of action with a broken leg. His bout with the Russian was his first after a massive crossover event against Floyd Mayweather in the boxing ring the previous summer. But he has struggled to maintain his dynamism in the octagon since returning. Coronavirus shutdowns and injuries have cost him a number of his prime years, and he is 1-3 since his boxing secondment. Speaking in March earlier this year, Khabib says he wouldn't close the door on being friends with McGregor. It's safe to say Khabib's optimism of friendship one day doesn't look too promising right now. Thank you for watching this video. That's all for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell.